Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over 20 different teams for Gems of War PvP as of version 7.3. So we're probably going to be covering this every single week, at least for the first month or two. Not sure if we will forever, because gosh, just 20 teams a lot. Don't expect this on Monday. It'll probably be on Tuesday most weeks when we do cover it. Obviously, this one's a little bit later, as just everything going on this week. And given that the patch was midway through the week. However, you could probably expect them by Tuesdays most weeks. Probably can't get it all on Mondays just because 20 teams is a lot of teams. Plus, we'd want to test some of them first. But basically, what we're going to be doing is I will be doing 10 PvP fights this video. Using our primary team that I've been using for each one of the 10 categories that are available this week, as well as every future week. And then we'll basically go over our team, just use it, kind of explain it a little bit, while also going over a low-level alternative. I will not be using the low-level alternative, but I will go over the low-level alternative. And that's pretty much the game plan. All the low-level alternatives don't use any legends, no mythics, no weapons that you need like a special event or anything for, just ones you can naturally unlock. The only exception to that is I do allow faction legends, just because faction legends are easier to get than most epic troops in the game. So if anything, they're actually easier to get. So I do include them just because they're super easy to get and target with chaos shards. But anyways, all of which will be in the description below. Hopefully I'll have timestamps as well, so you can go and find them a bit quicker. So first things first, let's start with the Central Spire. And with the Central Spire, we're allowed to use anything. It's just standard PvP as we've pretty much always had. I've personally been enjoying using a Stryx team. Though this premise of team can be used with pretty much anything. It's just mana accumulator, another mana accumulator, damage source mana accumulator. And that's pretty much what we're rolling with here, trying to get wand up so we can get things rolling. Anyway, of course, it is still Vault Event Weekend at this exact moment in time. So we did get a gnome there too, which we definitely got to make sure to run. But yeah, Stryx, obviously the new thing that came in version 7.3. If you don't have this, same things can be run with pretty much any AoE troop in the game, including T9000. I mean, not T9000, I mean, including Diamantina. And even if you just had to go like Phoenicia or something with a storm in there, you could end up doing it. And hey, we get a verse out of it. But that is pretty much standard PvP, just AoE wipe them out really quickly. There's a lot of ways you can go about it. You can go down the insta-kill route. As far as the cheap team for running this, I believe we ended up going with an AoE option as well. We use Mountain Crusher as our first mana accumulator. This also feeds extra brown to all other brown allies. We're using Mech for two reasons. One is Mech very specifically has Dispel. So once you get to level 70, it will have Dispel. So whenever you take 4 or more gems, it'll end up dispelling all enemies. This is particularly useful for two things, mostly one thing, Submerge. If you just run AoE as your only damage source and you don't have a way to counter Submerge, you will sometimes get Submerge lock. And that can be very annoying because you either need them to take a skull or you need to just scroll them down, and it just slows down the battle a lot. So having Dispel can fix that. We also use this hero class for the 50% mana start, which affects not only itself, but also, of course, Bork. And we're using Bork instead of Throughout just because it's getting that initial half start. And if you have the pet for it, you also have 5 to all stats, including magic, just to get it a little bit more. So we're using these are 2 mana accumulators, similar to the other team, just a different layout. Truffle is our main damage source. This is a legend, however, it is a faction legend. You just throw chaos shards at Amethyrax, and you'll get it in a pretty short period of time. And he basically has infinite loop into himself. A little bit less so since we don't have Green Storm on this team. However, it will have Brown Storm, so his extra turn chance will still be a little bit higher, just he won't be able to get as green. So you might have situations where you might have to cast Bork and end your turn trying to get Truffle to full mana, rather than just being able to infinite it. One alternative to this, I guess, if you could try going down the Farstral route, if you have Farstral Mirage Queen, does go a little bit higher. Actually, that would still be about the same rarity. So you actually could get away with that, going Farstral Mirage Queen as well, going down that route. But figured we'd go down the little bit more mech route this time around. But you can go down Farstral Amethyrax as well. I mean, sorry, Farstral Mirage Queen, in order to do a pretty similar effect where you double green with the Mirage, or where you double green with the Farstral, feed back into Truffle, Truffle feeds back into it, go back and forth, and try to squeeze a Green Storm in there off a hero. Anyways, next, let's go to the next category. So, what one did we have there? We had green. So let's go to green next. So, as far as green restriction, of course, you're allowed to use anything under the green category. For this, we are basically going into a Truffle loop, except without the Green Storm. We could add Green Storm, we could end up dropping Beatrix for it, however, for like Archer class or something similar. However, we do drop our Cleanse option if we do, and while this week, because we have a lot of like, basically just generated ones this week instead of actual people's teams, they are a little bit easier, but going forward, you're definitely going to be needing that Cleanse. Cleanse is going to be very vital. So this week, you probably could get away a little bit more with Green Storm, but going forward, you're probably going to want to use the Beatrix, have a Cleanse option. Going to want to have Wand for a lot of things as well for pretty similar purpose. So right off the bat, I'm actually going to cast this first, even though we're going to actually turn on the other thing, just because we're probably going to need a little bit more damage in there. And it doesn't even matter because we stick the skull. And there we go. Green has been taken out. As far as the cheaper green team, a couple ways you can go about this. Obviously, truffle spam, beatrix spam if you have either of those laying around. You can go for that. As far as other things, we end up going for Todd spam. So if you have a bunch of Todds, especially if you got it from the event several months back, you have Infinite Loop Todd. He does infinite loops with a bunch of war gear. You can just literally just set him as your entire team. If you have better options to end up putting here, like extra turn weapon or that one war gear mythic that feeds a bunch of magic to all war gears, add them in as applicable. Otherwise, you can just spam Todd, get your Moonsinger in there, be good to go. And even if you only have one Todd, you can still just put any 2 war gears in there and be perfectly fine. I believe there's a couple of mana links into green that you can end up doing, just to make sure he gets a little bit more green. But it's essentially just cast Todd until you win. And that is essentially the entire game plan there. Next, let's move on to our next coloration, yellow, which personally I feel like is one of the easier ones that we have access to at this current moment in time. So as far as yellow, we have ourselves a infinite loop. And for this, I actually did get rid of one of my finesses for Diamantina. However, you can simply just replace it with a second finesse. I believe even the cheaper team is literally just this with double finesse. And honestly, it might even be stronger than this because when this team does loop, it is better. The problem is the situations when it doesn't. As there are a few handful of times where it just doesn't get enough extra turns. Hopefully this time around it will, just so we can get the quicker kill here for the video. But if not, just double up on finesse. Not only is it cheaper, but it's also a little bit more consistent. But in the situations where this does get exactly what it wants... No! We were 1 off! We were so close! He actually got a kill on us! Wait, did he just land his 30% insta-kill? That's amazing. But yeah, that's why double finesse. I mean, the 4-time Stryx. The problem is whenever you subtract one from the team, even with the 1 extra gem spawn, it does increase the chance it misses some. And when it does, yeah, that can sometimes happen. But if you want to fix all those problems, go to cheaper team and just run double finesse. You'll be fine. There's Egress, Cattle, double finesse, and it's honestly probably even stronger than running Diamantina there. Though Diamantina, I still have not timed it to see which one is ultimately quicker, but they're both about the same time. Sometimes you get the quicker Diamantina kill, but then other times like that battle, it misses, in which case you would have gotten quicker speed just from going this in the first place. So we'll be seeing that team again in a second, because I believe we actually have a copy-paste of it. Because there are sometimes overlap, and honestly, it just works really well. So we just did it for both. Anyways, I'll also pay attention to the VP number. Not sure if this will be fixed in the future, but since it seems to be based on the hero level as a good majority of your VP points, you can see here we have a 33, a 45, and a 35. But one of those numbers is not like the other, and it seems to be really heavily based on hero level, as you can see right here. So be keeping an eye out for that. As you watch, you gain more VP from not always clicking the 3rd battle, at least currently. Anyways, our team right now is basically Bork, double bomb bot, and a weapon. Not much. You could even do this with the cheaper team and replace out the current weapon with Black Manacle. I did go down a little bit of a safer route for the cheaper team, just because you might not have the durability, especially once we start getting harder fights. And honestly, once we start getting harder fights, like actual people players fights, I don't think you'll be able to get away with this. But for this week, you were able to, so I've primarily been using it. But it brings back the old Bombot meta, back when double Bombot cast was actually usable. Not that it isn't these days. Obviously, we're using it for this right now. It's just, it's not as good as it used to be, that's for sure. He's going to give us the last of Brown we need. It's Bombot. And that should be enough damage. And slightly not. Oh, yeah, he has 25% spell reduction, that's why. Oh, hit him one more time. That's what his weapon's for. And on the other team, we actually run a summoner here. So when you start losing some of your team, you actually have a backup there. I believe I ended up using Zachi for it, if not mistaken. If we go over to our Brown team over here for the cheaper one, we can end up seeing, yeah, we went somewhat similar. We meant Mountain Crusher instead of Black Manacle or Deathbringer. Bork still, because we're running the mech hull build. Bombot here, just one single one, and then Zachi. Zachi has resummon, can do a Harpy Mage over and over again, and eventually you'll just be doing Harpy Mage into Zachi if things start falling apart a bit. And even if they're not, you still end up getting a Harpy Mage over top your Bombot. Even though it is not brown at all, you can summon things that are not brown, of course. So you can get a red-yellow there, feed back into a brown storm, and be good to go. And just keep chipping them down with Zachi over and over again. That's pretty much the game plan there. Somewhat similar structure, just a bit different there. Anyways, next we have Stryx. This team might look a little bit familiar, just slightly, but at least we get to show it the other way now. Egress, Cattle, double finesse. This is the actually the same team for both, the low rarity and the high rarity. I put it down twice because why not? But yeah, they're both the exact same team, both the high rarity and the low rarity one, as there isn't really any way to make it lower rarity. This kind of already is the low rarity variant, despite it already being the variant that we're running for it. So it works out perfectly. This is a 4-time Stryx restriction, and obviously Egress is absurdly good for 4-time Stryx, as it gains a gigantic boost ratio. You generally want to get them down to just 2, go for the double kill, hopefully don't summon off at 20%, and we're good to go. and just do that. If you really have to play it safe, replace one of your finesses with another egress, and that'll make it so if your first egress ends up dying, you'll have a second one available, just in case. It will give you a little bit less damage because you're not getting the extra benefit from the final trait on finesse. However, it is safer in case you have lower durability if it dies or any other reason. Especially as we go later when other teams will be like, every single one will be egress a cattle with like 2 other things, pretty much this exact team. It's going to be quite a bit harder to do than it currently is right now. They still have some of those instances right now. You have first turn advantage, so generally you're going to be fine. You basically, as a casty cattle, if you have it, or if you have board control, and if it doesn't have any alignment whatsoever, you simply just let the enemy do it and then take all their yellows, because it'll likely set you up into a couple extra turns, and then regardless, you just win from there. Anyways, let's go on to the next one here, and that one is the Suncrest team. Suncrest is pretty similar with one big caveat, and that big caveat is that you cannot run finesse. While finesse is Stryx, it is not Suncrest. It's from the Guardian Kingdom, so you're not allowed to use it. So you end up having to replace out some of your other team. For this, we end up replacing out with Quetzalma, which on its own can basically just solo the whole team, and Lyra Fair, which is basically just for the yellow link. I'm not sure how, but to this day, it is still the only thing in the entire kingdom that has, in Suncrest, that has any amount of mana link. It has +1 yellow, and is the only one in the whole kingdom that has anything in that regard, which is very strange. Normally, any kingdom pretty much would have more than that. It's one of those weird outlier kingdoms that just has that one singular one. There's a few others too, but normally they have some kind of like other gimmick, like Cinder Mirage or Nexus. Like I believe both of those might have almost none, if not none, but they have like a different mana accumulation gimmick, which is why they don't have the other one. It's just kind of weird because this one, doesn't really have a different gimmick, but also doesn't have any link for some reason. Anyways, we basically just chip them down and do chip range, get them with the Quetzalma, and then win. Quetzalma just saves a turn, similar to casting finesse. Though its damage range is quite a bit lower than that of finesse. Anyways, on to our next one here, which should be the orcs. So, as far as orcs are concerned, wait, why am I going over cheaper one? Let's do the main team first, and then we'll do the cheaper one. Also, we didn't need to do cheaper team for... actually, wait. Hold up. Am I not showing a cheaper team? Wait, this cheaper Suncrest team. I knew I forgot something. We didn't show it for the other one. Obviously, the Stryx one was the same. Egress, E-Cattle, double finesse. I think that's what threw me off. So I didn't show for the other one. But the replacement for this is we basically go Zachi. You're already going to have Yellow Storm, and after some things die, you'll get Brown Storm from the Harpy Mage she summons. So you have 2 different storms you'll be able to use for her ability. And on top of that, you have the second Egress. This is what I was talking about earlier when I mentioned doubling up on Egress. If your first Egress dies, you still have an Egress to hold down the line. And the best part about this is she summons a Harpy Mage, which does count as a Stryx, which means even after your first Egress dies, you will still be a 4x Egress team, simply with Harpy Mage in the first slot. And then you just loop it in a nice safe last position instead of your first. So it's a lot safer in that regard. Anyways, as far as Orc, there's quite a bit of a disparity between the highest team and the lowest team. The highest team uses 3 to 4 Eye of Argyris. I'm personally just using 3 with Riving Staff, as I didn't bother getting a 4th. Though, honestly, having the hero there is probably worthwhile just for the tank ability and everything. But, yeah, we're spamming him. His main gimmick is that he creates 2 Doom Skulls at the start of battle. And if you happen to have 3 of them, which I know pretty few people do, but if you happen to have 3 of them, or any amount of them, you can get a lot of value from it. And then you just offset it with the Empower Skulls. And for the cheaper team, you literally just run the Empower Skull. And the reason we have Writhing Staff, we can do stuff like this. We get the Entangle there, ideally get a little bit of Skulls. Unfortunately, it did backfire a little bit there. It can happen. Just keep taking Skulls. If you don't really have much to do, just cast his ability, cast your weapon, cast whatever. And then we just wait the next turn. We're basically just passing our turn over and over again in order to get more Skulls. And cycling that until we ultimately end up winning. And the battle pretty much plays itself. Just take whatever, and your team will just auto-kill the enemy team. It's going to be pure chaos the next time we see an Orc event, though. Because pretty much everyone will have a team of every Eye of Argyris they own on their team. So, interesting to see how that pans out. However, if you have 0 Eyes of Argyris, there's an alternative. We have ourselves the low Orc team over here. We're going to be running a Mang. Since this is Orc restriction, we're allowed to run any weapon. And for this, we're running Mang. We're going to be doing this with Fist of Zorn and Tricknala. These are the 2 Empower Orcs I was talking about. They both have Empower into a Convert. This one does yellow to Skulls and gives a bunch of attack to your first slot. This one does green to Skulls and gives you Hunter's Mark to the enemy's first slot, which allows you to do 2 times skull damage. And that stacks with the 1.5 times off of Enrage, as well as any other multipliers you might have. And we're using this guy to feed red to everyone. Every single thing on this team other than him uses red, so he's just there to feed them off of an Empower, in case you have a good starting board. Ideally, you actually want to do this first, because the way that you want to do this is cast Mang. Then after you cast Mang, you cast both of these. And after that, you hopefully killed most of their team. And just keep chipping them down with Skulls as you can. And that's pretty much a strategy there. Alright, next one. Let's go to the giant team. So, as far as giants, I think I went with the classic build here, just with a different weapon. The classic is Yarrow Fire Mantle, Fire Giant, Dawnbringer, and Hindla. Because we got this new weapon this week, I figured I'd use the new weapon. It's Decay in Orbit. I think this is the first time in a video on YouTube I've actually used this. We've been using quite a bit on stream and stuff like that. I think this is the first video we ever really use this thing. It's interesting. It's the basically double convert Doom Skull on Hero. We have a few troops that can already do this, but not specifically Hero. It converts all reds to Curse Gems, which are basically brown gems, but it also curses them. And it converts all purple into Doom Skulls, which of course explode. One other interesting gimmick is that it jumbles the enemy team, which is both good and bad. This is good because, you know, you're setting them in the bad order and everything like that. However, it can be bad for yourself because if you're intending to kill their first slot, you probably are no longer killing that first slot. They're going to get jumbled and you likely have a new target that you're going to hit there. Ural is pretty much at the time when they had like balanced looping in the game. So his ability to loop is not the greatest, but it's good enough that like it'll work. And that's pretty much the whole premise that we're trying to go for with this team. Like, it's not that good, but it's good enough. And that's pretty much the whole premise of what we're doing here. Just kind of getting him to do as many turns as we possibly can. Get our mana here and there whenever we can. Keep chipping them down in the kill range. Whenever you can get the Fire Giant, get it down, and ideally land extra turn. We don't actually have free. Actually, we do have freeze, but we have to cast out of our way for it. Since we have to use Titan for 50% mana start to all the Giants. We don't actually have like a freeze mechanic off of anything other than her. You could put it on your weapon if you really want to. This is the giant restriction, so you're allowed to go any freezy weapon you feel like if you feel like you do need that mechanic. Well, we're just going to keep chipping them down. Trying to get a bigger giant on this one since he's in kill range right now. Get the Fire Giant for the red. Ideally get the extra turn off of that. Repeat the loop. And I don't even think I cast this weapon a single time yet, but have we really gotten alignment? The problem is we keep not getting alignment on this little guy. Let's try it again. Come on, can we get the weapon? I don't think we showed it a single time. Can we still not get... Why? I either haven't noticed it or something. But yeah, we have like no good value on it this time around. Normally you could just end up getting some skulls there, end up whacking it out. But I believe there's some score reduction there, so you know what? We're just going to hit him with a Fire Giant. Yeah, we didn't get to use it for that much value that time around. But you do kind of save it as a finisher weapon. You can still go to Old Dawnbringer, you still go whatever weapon you want there, depending on what utility you feel like you need. You can even just go Wand if you want to play it super safe. So, very flexible spot as far as what you want to put there. Unfortunately, we didn't really get to get a huge amount of value there. Normally, you could use it as like a Doom Skull finisher and everything. As far as the cheaper team, actually, is it much different? Well, it has to be because we can't use the other thing. Oh, yeah, I remember what I did now. I ended up putting the 3 giants on this just to cover some color. The ones that overlap a little bit better, the Amethyst Giant, the Umbral Giant, and the Topaz Giant. And basically just running those 3 into a Mang. So you're essentially just running Mang, playing Mang as you normally would, go tear their armor, get you a bunch of attack. And then once you tear their armor, all of these now target it. And just use the converts when applicable. This one converts 5 to purple giant gems. This one converts 5 green to brown giant gems. And this one converts 5 purple to yellow giant gems. And you just keep cycling that until you end up winning. Mang them down, have the giants hit whatever you just hit, and get gigantic skull pokes wherever you can from your ever-increasing attack value. Just make sure you mang at least 2 or 3 of them, and then you'll have a super high attack, and make sure that the golems just target whatever has been hit by that. Anyways, next we have ourselves the Stormheim. Stormheim, I would say a little bit more restrictive as far as what we can end up getting away with. And for that, I believe the 2 teams are actually somewhat... Oh, why on earth are you the highest one? Okay, I'll take it. But our teams are a little bit more restrictive. By that, I mean a whole team of Balders. So we're running Titan with 3 Balders. I believe this is actually both the 2 teams. You can, of course, run something somewhat similar from what you ran for the previous ones if you want. Like, you can pretty much run that same Ural team if you really want to here. I figured we switch it up a little bit. And I've been running this, and, I don't know, I miss using Balder. It's one of those really weird troops. Has a lot of potential to be really good when it feels like doing so. The biggest issue with a lot of its teams, particularly a lot of its teams when you're, like, in a restriction like this, is you have, like, negative mana accumulation. Like, you're gonna have to take so many things on the board before you could do absolutely anything at all. But once you do, you basically win the fight. And that's what we're aiming for here. We're going to try that for the Blue off the Sky. Didn't get it. Alright, as you can see, we currently have everything with full mana. The boost ratio is how many skulls he creates based on how many blues you'll have as allies. Well, our whole team is blue. So he creates a very big number of skulls every single time he casts. And that's pretty much what we're doing here. The weapon is mostly just here as a finisher. And yeah, we just keep taking a bunch of pokes. That is the entire game plan here. And keep in mind, you are restricted to Stormheim weapons as well. I think the glitch might actually still work to overwrite your weapon. I could have sworn they fixed it, but I've heard people mention that it is still working. But as far as officially, you cannot end up changing your weapon here. And one other thing that's actually kind of interesting too is you're actually allowed to use any hero class in specific restrictions. So I went Titan here because it makes sense because we're trying to 50% mana start 3 giants. We could go Elementalist, we could go anything. We're actually not restricted to, like, even though this is a Stormheim restriction and I'm using the Stormheim hero class right now, you are currently not actually restricted to the class. So I could be running any class I want right now. Any of like the super safe ones like Elementalist or similar. But of course, the 50% mana start of the giant ends up speeding up this team a whole lot. So it is actually worthwhile to use the one that's technically within its restriction. But as of currently, you can actually set any hero class. But I've been mostly trying to keep them like parallel to what they should be. But you can make the exceptions for it. Like for example, this you technically want to run like a priest hero class, but you don't have to run a priest hero class for it. Anyways, I believe this team is almost the exact same on the cheaper team if we go over to the Giant Low. The only difference is, or sorry, not Giant Low, Stormheim Low. The only difference is I end up placing a little bit easier to obtain weapon there, which is the Thoradin. You get this from 250 wins on the Giant Hero class. I've been doing this for quite a few of the teams just to make sure that all the weapons are really accessible. I don't really think I went over them, but just as a quick recap, for any of you that don't know, Mountain Crushers from getting brown hero levels. This one uses none. Just over the hero weapons real quick. This one uses none. This one is from the same one, just from hero levels into brown. This one uses none. This one uses none. Gosh, I thought I'd have a few more to go over. This one you do from brown and red mastery. This one uses brown and red mastery. This one uses, you need to go get 250 wins on the giant hero class, which is the one for that reason right now, the Titan hero class, I mean. And you end up getting this weapon. And then we have the divine one. And this is the final team! Finally at the final team here. So, let's go and do our final battle. So, Divines. We're running with a Rope Dart Ubistet. Almost the old meta. Used to be Divine Protector Ubistet, but I went with Rope Dart as Rope Dart's a little bit quicker. Back in its ultimate meta, before like Divines got nerfed into the ground, yet are still good. They ended up changing quite a few things. For one, the first 50% mana start troop to have 40% mana start. And still to this day, the only 50% mana start troop with 40% mana start, which still seems really weird. But they got rid of her cleanse, they made his boost ratio worse, quite a few other things. But one thing that was surprisingly not touched was actually Divine Protector, so you can still run like Divine Protector Ubistet, but a lot of times it actually still works better with the Rope Dart. Rope Dart didn't exist at the time, but it does now. Also a little bit of a bad starting board, unfortunately. Not really the mana we want to be seeing. But as long as we can get things rolling, doesn't really matter too much. Mostly just need him to get to full. And he's actually at full mana right now. He might not look like he's at full mana, but he is indeed at full mana. Because we just do that, you get 3 red destroys off a Rope Dart, and then boom. And now ideally we get a really good Mercy cast, get both of them back straight to full mana. A little bit short of full mana, but we'll go find the last little bit that we need. Take that right over there. Just need to get them all the way back within the Rope Dart range. We can take the brown there. Nice. Okay, that's full mana. Now that's really full mana. And now he's kill one that doesn't have spell reduction. Be careful you don't oh no! Be careful not to hit one with spell reduction, but also be careful not to accidentally kill them with skulls. That's beyond your control a lot of times. Oh no. Well, round 2. Hey, do we actually get to use Divine Ishbala here? Might as well. Kill it with skulls. There we go. Got to use one of everything. There we go. But yeah, you just Rope Dart Ubistet, and hopefully don't get a random Skull Cascade. Otherwise, that ruins your second double kill. Anyways, also be careful not to do it on something with spell reduction, or that could also ruin your double kill, because you might not have enough damage to kill it. And for the Divine low rarity one, this weapon is from 250 wins on the Dervish hero class. So if you get Dervish to 250 wins, you'll end up getting that weapon. And we're using Mercy, just to kind of get rid of it. Dancing Daggers, Diviner, and Pengalong. The main premise of the team is Dancing Daggers into Pengalong, with Diviner feeding them. Though initially you also get the Mercy feeding them. Diviner can give you a bunch of magic, chant, stuff like that, even cleanse, like Mercy does. However, you're mostly using it for the choose color into yellow convert. A little bit more flexible than Mercy, because you could choose absolutely any color, while also gaining additional benefit. Not that this doesn't have an additional benefit as cleanse in life, but of course some of the other ones like enchant and magic gain are a little bit more useful than that. And we're basically just using 2 different AoE weapons. Dancing Daggers here because it's really cheap and accessible, and Pengalong here because you literally get it for free from the Shentang faction, or the Kingdom, I mean. Too many different names for things in the game. But anyways, guys, that is finally the full rundown on the 20 PvP teams for the week. Sorry that came up a little bit later. Just kind of got busy for the holidays coming up. However, we will try to get these out, I would say, probably on Tuesdays. I'm pretty sure I will not be able to get these out on Mondays every single week. I'm not sure how long I'll be covering them for. I know initially we definitely will be, at least for like the first month or so. But I'm not sure if we're going to every single time, kind of like how we don't cover like Guild War teams every single time. Otherwise, that would be at least like 12 teams that we have to cover every time. And of course, with this, we're covering 20 teams every single time. So at least initially we will be. Not sure how long we'll keep it up for, but if you want to see more, definitely hit the like button. Would help a lot and is greatly appreciated. All of the teams mentioned in this video are in the description if you want to go copy paste any of them, or simply just look at them and copy them if you're on something that can't really copy them as easily, because I don't think you can on the console versions as easily as you can on PC mobile. But otherwise, just copy paste them and you're good to go. And also, these teams should save. I know there's been some like reset issues with these, but I believe these teams will save. So for example, this team I have right here, next week should still be here, question mark, if it works and not gets glitched out. But there is a good chance that like each equivalent category saves your team. So for example, Central Spire, which has no restriction, if I have this team set up, I should also have this team set up the following week. And same goes for other categories. Like we probably won't have a green restriction next week. However, in like 2 or 3 weeks from now, assuming the game doesn't glitch out, like I should still have this team saved here. In theory, just in case, well, it'll be on the video, or you can put them in a notepad or a WordPad or some other place. But they should save once you get them in. Keyword on should. If it actually does or not, that is going to be determined by next week and the following weeks. But they should save going forward. And if they currently don't, they should, hopefully in the next few weeks, once they fix that bug after the holidays. But anyways, guys, I hope you all enjoy the holidays. Feel free to leave a like on the video. Helps a lot and is greatly appreciated. All the teams are in the description. If you still have any other questions or want to leave your own teams, feel free to leave them below. Of course, some of the cheaper teams, or all the cheaper teams, we made pretty cheap. Obviously, if you have applicable upgrades, obviously put those upgrades in whenever applicable. Like if we show like a cheaper AoE option. Obviously, if you have something that hits harder, like Diamantina or something similar, but don't have like one of the other mana accumulators, like, you know, put that in. Kind of like, you know, like the central team here. Like, you don't have to go all the way down to the cheap team. You can simply just replace out these two and replace out for like Diamantina and something else if you haven't got the new Stellarix or something similar. So obviously there's always replacements that you can end up doing. So when applicable, you can kind of put in the mid-range team. It would just be a little bit too hard to cover 30 different teams, especially since even in those mid-range teams, you know, someone might still be missing an option. So just adapt when applicable there. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Greatly appreciate it. I'll catch you guys soon. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for watching.